Here's the story. All right. So basically, I was working during the pandemic as a pulmonary transplant specialist, and as you can imagine, that shit got pretty tough. Um, Seeing as how the disease was a disease of the lungs, it took a lot of energy and a lot of like mental strength out of me. Mental strengths out of me for sure. And I ended up doing taking the situation where I started applying to like online jobs. Like at the time, I had no tech experience, but I had the lights, I had the microphone. Like I felt like I should know how to program. So I said it couldn't be that hard. I would learn on the job. I even said I would take a job paying $50,000 just so I could get in the door. And I put out like 100 applications and got rejected from everybody. And one of the people who rejected me, I just wrote him a letter, say, hey man, can you tell me what I'm doing wrong here? And he's like, to be honest, we think you're a great candidate if we needed you to save the life of a program, or if we needed you to do CPR in our office, but you don't have anything even remotely showing that you could work an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, but these aren't difficult skills. Yeah, but you got to show it. You got to show it so we know it. So I went home and I redid my resume from head to toe, completely changed it. I've removed all words of my medical background and replaced it with parliamentary or shared terminologies and shit like that. So 6 weeks into me searching for a new job, I get a hit from one company. At the time, I'm in Toronto, and they say, hey, we saw your resume. It's a biostat and data specialist. It deals with oncology, so you have a unique blend where you have medical background and data infrastructure. Would you be interested in the opportunity? I was like, absolutely. Did the first round initial interview. It became painfully clear that I needed to giddy up. And what ended up happening was they said, hey, we have a technical exam for you to take. You have to take the test at a testing center. And I was like, shit, I'm in Toronto. And they were like, I said, I'll be moving back in like 6 weeks. They said, perfect. We don't plan on making a decision for this anytime soon. Take your time, move back, take the test. And when you pass the test, you'll get invited to the interview. So immediately, first thing I did was download everything I could find on the internet. But when I was downloading stuff, I saw that Twitch had a link to someone who was currently doing Python, which was the language I had to learn, as a test online, and they were doing leak code. So I immediately came to Twitch. I started my own channel, and every day for 6 weeks, probably more like 10 weeks, I came here and practiced coding for 1 hour a day. That's the name of the channel, Coding with Strangers. So we're in it, right? The day of the exam comes. I've never scored higher than a 70% on the exam while on stream. Day of the test comes. I completely blow it out of the water. I get a 75%. I'm a fucking genius. And I showed them the score. You needed a 70 to pass. I showed them my 75, and they was like, all right, we're going to do the interview with you. And the interview is group. It's a group interview. Everyone does the interview together. And I was just like, okay, cool, no problem. So, I get there, everything's cool. I walk in, and, I sit down in the middle, and to my right, there's this baby. I mean, he looked like he had to be no older than like 14. He had so many goddamn stickers and boot camps that he completed on the back of his laptops. I mean, he looked like a little boy genius. He was adorable. But I was like, all right, cool. You know what? I'm not gonna stress this. I'm not gonna. I feel like I can beat him just because he probably doesn't have experience in these settings. And then I look to my left, and there's this dude dressed in a black suit. And when he hit the button on his keyboard, 2 screens popped out the side. Just 2 more screens popped out, and then 2 keyboards popped out. He literally was typing on Megatron's back. I mean, the guy was he had to have been from Secret Service or somewhere. Like he had nuclear launch codes. I've never seen so many screens come out of a goddamn keyboard. And you know, in retrospect, I probably should have had some I had my resume was on a piece of paper. I didn't have any technology. I just brought a notebook and I printed my resume that I laminated so I could pass it back and forth. Because I was getting tired of buying printing paper, shit like that. But anyway, the interviewers came in. They were like, "Okay, Hero, we'll start with you first." I slid over my resume, and they were like, "Hey, you got a passing grade on the Python, so we know you can do Python. You said that was your best." I was like, "Yeah, that was my best, but I wasn't feeling well that day. You know, pressure's on. The important part is to get the passing grade." They're like, "Yeah, absolutely. But Hero, we got to tell you, your resume was quite fascinating because not only were you proficient at Python, you also know JavaScript. Is that correct?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Okay, I didn't want to say this at first, but JavaScript was actually my first baby mama. Me and her been kicking it since the 80s. But you know, times changed. Data engineering. I left the web dev alone and decided to do Python. And they're like, "Oh, okay, fascinating. Keep in mind, I have never typed a word of JavaScript in my life. If you had told me to tell you what JavaScript did at the time, I could not have told you that it dealt with web development." Then they were like, "Okay, the thing that they stopped and they looked at it. There was two interviewers. First one with the glasses, he looks at it, he taps something on my resume, he circles it, which is why I laminated, because the disrespect, I gotta wipe that off later. If it was a normal piece of paper, I get that back. I can't use that anymore. He slides it to his partner. His partner looks at it, he shrugs his shoulders, slides it back, and then he slides to me and says, "Hero, we got one question. Between the two of us is 30 years of experience, and we've never heard of this language. Can you tell us what that is?" So they slide my resume to me. I take a look, and I'm like, "Shit. Oh, C hashtag." And they were like, "C hashtag?" And I was like, "Yeah, C hashtag. You've never heard of it?" They were like, "No, we've never heard of C hashtag. Where did you learn that?" Don't worry. Hey, baby. At MIT, all those boot camps you did and all those classes you took, they definitely taught you what C hashtag is, right? He says yes. I say, "Megatron, before you take over Optimus Prime and Unicron and all that bullshit, they gave you the secret to fucking C hashtag, right?" He also says yes. So I flipped my resume back around. I slide it to him and said, "Motherfucker, it's C hashtag. I could show you."
Get down.
The moral of the story is, it's their job to disqualify you. You never have to disqualify yourself. The interview continued. It took an hour. After it was all said and done, they came and got the little pipsqueak. And me and Optimus Prime and Megatron, we all shook hands and were like, I guess the young guy, the children are our future. You know, he did answer some really good questions. And then they came and got Megatron. And I was like, God damn. They interviewed so well. Both of them interviewed so well. They made another job so they could get both of them. That's crazy. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the hospital. This experience was fun. I proved that I could pass the test. You know, I proved that I could do this. It was fun making new friends that I made on Twitch. It was worth it. It was worth it. And then they came in and said, hey, Hero, when do you want to start? And I got the job. So since then, it's been 3 years now. And and I've been promoted twice. And I've been put in charge of regional teams in Singapore and all over the country. But ultimately, I think the thing I really want to do is become better at those skill sets that I didn't have skills at, and that's why I keep doing it. And even interviewing for jobs with those same skill sets that would still force me to learn and get better. So now, today, I can program in Python and I can program in JavaScript.